Hey guys, and welcome to the Courageous Nerd YouTube channel for another interview. I'm Connor, and joining me today is Stephanie Baird to chat all about her new short film, Baby Making 101, available to watch on PopternativeTV. If you enjoy this interview or others on the channel, please be sure to like and subscribe. So welcome, Stephanie, and thank you for taking the time to speak with me today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Connor. Happy to be here.
For sure. And I was wondering, because obviously you've actually worked in a few different areas in the entertainment industry, but was it always was that always what you had in mind to pursue as a career, or did you ever see yourself doing anything else?
I think I've always known that I've wanted to be in the entertainment industry. I've kind of flip-flopped around in different roles to kind of see exactly where I fit. But I've always had a passion for it. I've had a passion for storytelling. I've had a passion for connecting with other people. And I think that the entertainment industry really gives us that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, because just from doing some research about you, I saw you'd had a few different job roles within the wider industry, and I wondered if it was a case of kind of working your way up a ladder to get to where you eventually wanted to be, or as you say, you kind of weren't sure exactly what you wanted to do. Was it a case of a combination, or was it really just you kind of you wanted to go in that direction, you just didn't know exactly in what field?
No, I think something that's to be said is knowing your strengths and playing your strengths to get where you want to go is kind of that was always my journey. So, I have a really big interest in creative, but I know that I can really succeed in the logistics. So I wanted to, I felt like I was like a small fish in a big sea, and I was like, well, how can I get seen? And I knew how to play my strengths in the logistics world to kind of get seen. And then once I was seen, I could, be a little bit more honest about what I was actually looking to do, which is nice.
For sure, absolutely. And I suppose that speaking of trying to get seen, you've recently wrote and directed a short, Baby Making 101, which is available to watch currently on Popternative TV. But I suppose, I mean, maybe the title is kind of self-explanatory, but how would you kind of explain the premise for anyone who hasn't heard about the short yet?
Yeah, for sure. It is a story about a young couple named Rachel and Rob who are actively trying to make a baby via intercourse. And as the story progresses, the idea of motherhood becomes a lot more real to the Rachel character, played by Tamara. And I think she kind of has to come to some truth, like some real truths there about what she actually wants to do with her life, and is following the traditional woman role something that she's interested in, or not. And I will not give the answer to that.
Yeah, just ellipses, dot, 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 go and actually watch the short to find the answer to that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I suppose, obviously, Popternative TV, it's a component of Popternative. And I actually just interviewed Peter, who runs Popternative. And I was wondering, though, did you know him at all in terms of being able to collaborate together? How did the short find its way to Popternative TV?
Yeah, Petey and I have known each other for a number of years.
Okay.
We've connected through kind of like what I said before, playing my strengths, and a big part of my strengths is social media marketing and digital, like the digital world. So
Wow, okay, yeah.
I was working on a web series that kind of blew up, and PD and I met through that, and we've kind of been chatting ever since. Meeting for coffees and that sort of thing, because we both have that that strength in digital marketing, and we both have that desire for creative media. So it was kind of like one of those matches, and finally we kind of clicked on this. So
yeah, because actually both of us, we have the commonality, you and I, of Peter being able to help us out in some way. Obviously, in your case with this short and putting it on his platform. In my case, he actually facilitated the first interview I ever did. It was a friend of his who was on a show for Netflix. So I think definitely a very giving, kind of generous person. Absolutely. Great to work with.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's why Popternative and PD do so well, is because he genuinely, like the collaborations that he makes, he genuinely cares about and he wants them to succeed. And, I think that's really great.
For sure. And I know obviously with the short itself, you're both the writer and the director. And I know obviously often in most cases those would be two different people. So like how much of a balancing act was it to like fill both roles on the short?
I mean, it's interesting because the writing and the directing kind of happen at different times in the production process, right?
Yeah.
So, the writing, I kind of had how I wanted it to play out in my head while when I was going to direct it. And then when I got to directing it, we could play a little bit with the written part of it on the fly, which is kind of nice. So, I don't know that I would call it a balancing act.
Yeah.
But I would say that it definitely gave me a lot more flexibility in the creative, which and that's what I love doing. I love creating with other people. And if a spark of inspiration comes up in the moment and I have that authority to be like, you know what, let's try that. Let's explore that. It's really cool.
Yeah, because just from a directing standpoint, do you think you would have like perceived the script differently if someone else had written it? Because obviously, a big part of like the directing process, right, is kind of maybe taking what the writer has written, but making it work for the situation. But like, do you think working with a script someone else had written would have been a different experience for you?
I think it definitely would have been a different experience. I think there's something to be said about working with someone else's vision. You kind of it's nice to have that collaborative brain where you bring in the story from your perspective, I read it from my perspective, and then the performers perform it from their perspective, and then you get this nice little like whole experience out of it. Whereas it's a little selfish to write and direct your own your own film, because you're like, this is my thoughts I'm putting them in here, and then I'm going to direct it the way I want to direct it. So yeah, I mean, I like both. Both.
And I suppose obviously in this instance, like for the actors, if they wanted like an insight more into the characters, they'd be able to ask the director, because obviously you're also the writer. And I was wondering for the two leads, obviously you mentioned Tamara Almeida already, and apologies if I butchered this gentleman's name, Fuad Ahmed. Is that right?
Quad, yeah.
Quad, sorry. Again, my apologies. But I mean, I suppose like how did these two end up on your radar, and like what made you think they were the right people to play the characters?
Yeah, so I've worked with both of them in the past. They're both very fun energy. They're both like pretty easygoing, but they also know what they're doing. Which is really great when you're working with actors who just know, like who just instinctually they just get it. And they asked all these great questions. They but they also like Tamara, what am I trying to say here? We all come from very different backgrounds, the three of us, culturally, and we come from different age demographics slightly. So a big part of working on this film was me talking to them about their experiences, in where you come from in your family. What does it mean to be a father? What does it mean to be a mother? What does it mean, so that we could actually pull in those experiences that I don't have into their performances, so that we can really tell the whole story. Because me writing that script, like I don't know what it's like, I don't know what it's like for Tamara to be, experience the pressures of wanting to be a mother in however she was raised, and it's very different for me however I was raised. And I think that's just a really beautiful part of the short, is that we had those conversations. What does marriage look like for you? What does motherhood and fatherhood look like for you? And like, what are the pressures from your families, in your lives to do this? So I think that wasn't a semi-eloquent way of saying what I was trying to say.
No, I mean, I think you definitely kind of hit the nail on the head. But actually, a question from that the answer is raised for me though is obviously they say like write what you know, but like what kind of inspired you to go with this particular direction, which is an area it sounds like you didn't have a lot of insight in?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a parent.
Okay.
But I was born I was born with a uterus. So
Right. Sure.
there is a lot of, for me, you know, I do flip-flop back and forth. You know, do I ever want to have kids? And you know, some days it's yes, some days it's absolutely not. And I haven't actually sat in it to make a real decision on it. And I think that's kind of the way that life is now. You know,
Yeah.
like in order for me to have and birth a child, you know, I'm going to have to make some sacrifices in my life that maybe I'm not ready to make right now. And I'm going to have to make some sacrifices to my body that maybe I'm not ready to
Yeah.
make right now. And, you know, that doesn't mean that I'll never do it. It doesn't mean that I ever will do it. I just, you know, it's a lot more than just, yeah, let's have a kid, you know, and I think sometimes it's presented that way.
Yeah, you know, I mean, for sure. And obviously, you're kind of alluding towards that. Like, what kind of messages do you hope, or like themes you hope people take away from the show? And like, do you think, like, do you want people to kind of relate to their own experiences, or like, are you kind of just more giving people an insight into something they might not know a lot about? Like, what we kind of hoping to get across?
Yeah, I think for me it was, you know, finding a light, like the short starts off very light and fluffy,
Yeah.
and I kind of wanted to bring that light and fluffiness into a very difficult conversation. So really that's what my hope is to start a conversation about it. And you know, I'm not saying, like, the piece doesn't say one way or the other is right.
Yeah.
The piece says that you have a choice and whatever you decide is valid, and people might not always be on board with whatever choices that you make, but if you
Yeah.
know in your heart this is the right choice for you, then this is the right choice for you.
Yeah.
And you know, there is no answer, there is no you know, the answer is not 42. You
Right.
know, there is no answer. It's all subjective, and it all depends on
Yeah.
your personal experience. And I think sometimes we get put into this little box of, this is what, you know, these are the check boxes you're supposed to make when you go through life,
Yeah.
and this is the timeline you're supposed to do it in, and then you feel like, you know, maybe you're you know, I think failure is a bit of an extreme word, but you feel a bit like a failure when you don't check those boxes on the timeline, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I know obviously maybe asking in a wide sense is like too broad of a question, but maybe for this particular script, as the writer and as a director, like, would you say it was important, especially with the subject matter, to kind of have that you know, unbiased like perspective, like not, you know, not saying like for certain one way or the other, like, this is the right thing, and kind of, because then obviously there's a risk of it being like, hey, oh, this is a film telling you to have children or not telling you to have children. Like, it's important for you to kind of have it be balanced and just telling a story without kind of leaning too heavily into either direction.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of reflective of where I'm at in my life right now. You know, right now I don't have an answer. Do I
Right.
want to have kids? Do I not want to have kids? And you know, I like leaving it open-ended, because when you know, it's good to tell stories and to like wrap it up in this nice little box, but you know, the truth is that most people's life experiences don't have black and white answers, where, you know, or binary answers. It's just,
Yeah.
you know, this is how I feel. And I think that's why it was really important to me to find that balance of, you know, I didn't want anyone to feel left out at the end. I didn't want people who have kids to feel like I'm telling them that they're, you know, whatever for
Yeah.
having kids. And I didn't want people who didn't have kids to feel like they're, you know, whatever for not having kids.
I know, for sure. And I know obviously, you know, I guess, you know, away from the short, like obviously we're going into a new year very soon. Like, what do you hope to accomplish in the coming months as we kind of, yeah, as we go into 2022?
Yeah, I mean, that's it's a good question.
It's a
I think
big question. I apologize, but
no, yeah, it
yeah.
is. I mean, I'm doing a lot of work right now. You know, I work in film and television for my day job, which I'm very
Right.
fortunate for.
Yeah.
So, you know, I have some ideas in the burner, and it's just a matter of finding the time to sit down and work them. But I know that this isn't my last project. I do have a couple of them in development, so we'll see how what the timeline is for me coming out of this.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, obviously, just to say, best of luck with everything. It doesn't sound like you've got anything concrete, right, to say at the moment. Kind of like to look out for. Is it? It's mostly in development, is it? Would you say?
Yeah, yeah. Various stages of development. But you can watch Baby Making 101 on Popternative TV.
Nice plug. I like that. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, again, just saying then best of luck with everything, with your further ventures, with hopefully the short can get a lot of traction over there on PopternativeTV. And yeah, I guess just take care and stay safe. And thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks so much, Connor. Really nice talking to you.